Kelley Leger, this is Amber Buteau, and this is Hozana Arceri, and we're here at For the One Studios, and we are talking shop today. Welcome to our show, what we do here in studio. Yeah. So this is kind of a get to know you episode, right?
Right.
I mean, really get to know our studio, get to know us, kind of get to know what our crew has done, is doing, and it's going to be doing. So I don't know. I'm just going to throw it over to you, Mrs. Buteau, and tell me about, like, who is Amber Buteau in this industry?
Well, it's been a crazy ride. And I think most of you know that if you are on sets and you're in this industry, it is a ride, right? I mean, it's got its highs, it's got its lows, and that's what this is about. It's about us coming together, talking about what happens on set practically. I mean, you can learn all kinds of things in school, which I think is great. But where the rubber meets the road is where it happens, right? And that's been my experience too, So I started out super green like everybody, and then when you get to be on lots of sets, you start really learning the lingo, like martini shot. What? The crazy things that we say in this industry.
It's another language. It's another world.
It is.
Another culture.
It is. And so that was really the heart behind us starting Set Life and For the One Studio producing a podcast, because we're on set all day, every day. And it's a cool thing to get to be a part of, and then to be able to share our experience with those out there that absolutely love this. There's one industry that I've been in that everybody is super passionate about. That's this industry. Yep. Super passionate about being on set and learning new techniques and new things and really building a community. We're here in Houston. Mm-hmm. Go H-Town, right?
H-Town.
But yeah, we're here in Houston, and we're really passionate about growing and fostering the community here in Houston too, for the media industry, the entertainment industry, and that's in all different kinds of ways. Mm-hmm.
I like it. I mean, I like what we do because it's what we're especially going to do here on Set Life. It's access to a unique world. It's like, I mean, how many people in this world desire to be in the entertainment industry? Like millions, but how many people are actually in the entertainment industry? Very, very, very few.
Very few.
How many people go out to Hollywood with their Hollywood dreams, Hollywood or bust, and bust? Yeah. I mean, that's the normal story. So I think this show is going to be a lot of those highs and lows, those stories. Yeah. This culture, it's such a culture. I mean, we oftentimes will get online, you can look up a culture in another country. Well, this is the culture of production.
And to get to see behind the scenes. Yeah. Hozana, you've been a cinematographer for a while now. You shoot a lot of our stuff here. Kind of tell us a bit. So you're on set all the time, and to get to hear from experts in the industry, that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring on experts. We're going to bring on people that really work in the industry, move the needle in the industry, and hear practical, simple tips, advice, what you love. The first episode of this is for the love of the industry. And I think that's a really good thing that we all kind of come together in one love for this. So Hozana, tell us a little bit about, how you got into it and what's your favorite things. What do you love about this? Yeah,
I think I got a pretty fun background in that regard too. I didn't have any desire to be in the production world. I had, I was creative and knew kind of had an eye for stuff, but I was an athlete my whole life, and until meeting my wife and figuring out that, man, I really had this gift for seeing an image or seeing a frame, and just kind of stepping into pursuing that. So I'm one of those byproducts who didn't go to school for it, but being on sets, being around people like Kelley and others who you just start learning the trade, you start learning and gathering wisdom in that industry, and it really it's super beneficial. I mean, like, I think we all can agree that getting on sets and getting around those other creatives and learning the lingo, whether it's a martini shot or even can you Hollywood that? Yeah. It's all those stuff that's, the lingo is great, but you actually learn that you're doing it without knowing it sometimes. And I think that's been one of the fun parts about being on sets, and whether that's grip or lighting or just running a camera or honestly even making coffee runs. I mean, it's just whatever you can do to kind of just get around those people. I feel like that's paid off more for me than anything. I can go watch a YouTube video for an hour of a guy talking about some of that, but until I actually kind of put hands to it, pick up the camera, change a lens, or put a C-stand there. I mean, just the other day it was funny. I, realized I was putting C-stands up the wrong way. So it's like you just constantly have to think the attitude of just, I'm always learning. Always have to be learning something on set life.
Yeah, and
with
that's
that approach.
Yeah, that's super good. And that's what I hope this podcast does, is help kind of teach you some of those things,
I think it's going to expose people to a lot of things they maybe didn't know production actually was. Like in the production world, it doesn't matter if you're left or right brain. Like if you're very logistical and a very planner, or if you're crazy creative, there's a place for you on a production set. Like there's so many roles. And I think that people are going to see this and then be like, oh, I didn't know that. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I was in film school, they kind of had us do a little bit of everything along the way. And then you started to realize, oh, I gravitate toward that. I love that. I hate that, but I love that.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're directing, or you're just an editor, you're just producing, whatever it is.
And I think that's another great thing that would be good for tuning in, is because we are going to have actors, editors, directors, cinematographers, producers, executive producers. I mean, you just go down the list of, all the different, like you go to one of the big productions, who knew you would have 100+ people on set?
Sure. That's right.
To shoot a film.
That's right.
Those are the kind of things that you don't get access to, that you don't know unless you're into the industry. Mm-hmm. And this is going to take you a little bit behind the scenes of those worlds and get in the minds of the people that are doing it, and to see how they say make magic, right? With films. That's because it takes 100-something people creatively seeing the same vision at the same time and being on point, on time, every time to make that happen.
Yeah, it's a miracle every time you
That's what they say.
shoot something and everything works out. It's a miracle. And let me just say, I mean, the people that we're going to have on the show, a lot of them have roots here in Houston, or they're from Houston, but they are legitimate. Like, I mean, we're going to get some people working on some Marvel movies, some of the greatest talent agencies, some of the biggest talent agencies around, especially in our region. So as localized as we are, it's big. It's big. It's going to kind of be all over the place in a good way.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to be, so Amber Buteau, I want to ask you, as we're getting to know each other, how did Amber Buteau jump into this industry? Like what got you started? What was your heart? We're talking about for the love of the industry. What was your heart for this whole thing? And lead us to today, till For the One Studios.
Yeah, wow. What a loaded question. Yeah. I would say, I've always loved the industry since I've been a wee little one, right? I've loved the industry, but I came from a really small town, and all I knew of the industry was acting. Like that's the first place everybody thinks, like, oh, I'm going to get in the industry, I'm going to act, and then I never did. But that is something I always thought, would pull me into the industry. And as I got older, and the more, like we're talking about, the more you learn about the industry, what tapped into all of my gifts, so to speak, would be producing, running a studio, on the behind the scenes, the backside of movie making, pulling a whole team of people together to produce something. And that led me to, okay, then let's start with a studio where I can be involved with multiple facets of the industry. And also my true heart, my faith, I'm super rooted in my faith, and I'm a strong believer in, God has a big plan for us. And it was one of the things that I call him my main man, my best friend. My best friend and I just had a little talk, and he was really pushing me towards the industry to produce good content. Mm-hmm. I think the world right now needs good content, without agendas, without pushing anything, but, just some good content.
Definitely.
And if I can move the needle in that just a little bit, then, I've done my piece here, my part in the industry, and not just in the content, but, love it on the people. That's why we're having everybody from the industry on, to just love and encourage. And for those of you that are watching, if you're wanting to get into the industry, maybe you'll hear somebody's story from here that encourages to take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right. Hozana didn't go to school for it, but had a natural gift for it, and is unbelievable with a camera, unbelievable. So, and unbelievably editing. And that is super encouraging and inspiring for somebody watching that's like, oh, maybe I can do that. Take the jump. I think that's that's something that I hope fosters from here. And that's one of the reasons I got into the industry, was to love on the people and produce some good content and bring a community together that has such passion.
Take the jump. So what did that look like for Amber Buto? How did you take the jump? Or give us some of your practicals even.
You hear that saying where it says, if you could see the whole staircase, you may become overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Versus just take the first step.
Right.
So the first step for me was, what is a studio? What does that look like? Research. Learn for yourself. I just told somebody the other day, they were like, what's a good advice you could give for being successful? And I said, probably one of the best things I can say is, if somebody tells you what that coffee tastes like and that's coffee, don't just take them at their word. Mm-hmm. Pick up that coffee cup, look at it, taste it for yourself, own that and know what it is. So have the confidence to ask questions, have the confidence to learn, have the confidence to take that unassured step in a direction that you have passion for. What's the worst thing?
Right.
Right. You totally. Might make a mistake. You make a mistake so many times in a day.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So just take it. You're one step closer to your passion. You're one step closer to finding out, something that could turn the light on for you. Mm-hmm. And that was something I personally had to do in this industry. I didn't know anything. It was scary. It was a scary step to go, okay, we're going to start with one little room, and what is soundproofing?
Right. Sure.
So
sure.
It's, I would just encourage you to take the one step closer, one step at a time. Don't try to hit the top of Mount Everest of stairs. Mm-hmm. Just take the first step to
That's
learning.
Good. No, that's really good.
Enough about me. What about you, Kelley?
So more about Kelley.
Oh, man. Well, gosh. So kind of like you, I guess my introduction to this industry was on the acting side of things. As a kid, I was like on stage here in Houston at the Alley Theater and Wortham and Jones Hall. When I was a kid, I was an actor, and so I was on all those stages. And then as I got older, I liked the industry, but I learned really quickly that as an actor, you were always going to be dependent upon somebody else to cast you, to put you in something, to do something. And so while it's awesome and acting is amazing and we love actors and acting is fun, I wanted to write my own meal ticket, as it were. So as I got older and I learned more about the industry, I turned more toward the back of the camera. And because then you could write something and go shoot it. You weren't dependent and waiting on somebody to tell you, here, I got a role that's perfect for you. Yeah. You could just make it.
Right.
And so I started liking directing and producing that side of it, and editing, and just starting, kind of learning a little bit of all of it. Some of my first jobs when I lived out in California was I was editing for a company that was doing edits for Sony Pictures. So I was editing for Sony, but I was doing all these airplane edits. So all back in the day before they had the on-demand,
yes,
they're just going to play the movie on the plane, the movie on the plane. Yeah. And so I'm like editing this horrible zombie movie, down for like time or down for, whatever. They want, like, the zombie gets hit 14 times, take 12 hits out. And I'm like, that makes it better. But that was in there, So it was all that kind of thing. And so you just I started doing that, and I learned editorial, and I recognized I had a friend who was doing a lot of music composition for commercials in California for big agencies, and so he opened my eyes to the world of advertising agencies and the work that they were doing commercially. And so I said, okay, well, I can do that. I could do television commercials. So I started beating down the doors of advertising agencies, and we would make as many as 1,000 calls a day.
Wow.
Persistent.
To advertising agencies. I was in California, so I'd get up at 6 a.m. and start calling New York advertising agencies saying, hey, you're looking for a director, you're looking for a director. And it was I just kept knocking on the door. And we figured our magic number, as it were, when we went back and looked at all our statistics, that it took us 25,000 contacts with the right person looking for a director, not just calls or contacts, 25,000 with the exact right person looking for a director till we finally got our first job. I had no portfolio. I had nothing to show. It was the first person who said, yeah, kid, we'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
And
That's that taking that step.
It was.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you reaching out all those times is taking that first step at like, hey, I want to do this. I haven't done anything, but being persistent, taking the first step, taking the risk, and off you went.
Yeah.
I knew to do great things.
I knew nothing. I mean, I had gone to film school, but in the real world, like you're talking about the practicals, because you can learn a lot in a classroom, you know, but when it comes down to it, somebody's going to give you a whole lot of money to shoot something that represents their multi-million-dollar brand, no pressure, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, I mean, these guys gave us, you know, it was a restaurant chain in Southern California, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I remember they gave us I think we had like a $25,000 budget. And I thought it was $1 million.
Oh, for sure it was. First, that's huge.
I'm like, I won. I'm rich. I'm great, you know. And I remember I didn't sleep at all the night before on that production set at all. I didn't sleep. And I mean, because we're working with kids. I'm like, you know, there's a handful of things they say you never want to work with in Hollywood.
Right away.
Children, animals. I spent half my career working with trained animals when it was all said and done. Special effects. You know, they never tell you food, but food, let me tell you, is a whole other thing. You know, a dog will respond to a noise. Food just stands there and looks at you. Move to the right. The rice just looks at you. Doesn't do anything. You know, just saying. Food, they need to add that to the mix. Food, that's a problem. But so my first one was a restaurant chain. So I'm working with kids. I'm working with special effects. I'm working with food, all on one production. It was crazy. And I did all the rookie mistakes. I mean, I'd take like 50 takes of one shot. The cinematographer had to be like, this kid, 50, what was wrong with that one? You know, I'm overcompensating for my lack of knowledge. I don't know it. So I'm just shooting it again, you know. Yeah. And I hired like Michael Negrin, who was like a phenomenal veteran DP. He was shooting Gilmore Girls at the time. He was shooting Las Vegas at the time. He just did a Wes Craven movie, and I'm bringing in, because I'm like compensating for my rookiness, my greenness, right? I hired a whole LA production crew. I think I spent more on the production than we made. But I just didn't want to do it wrong.
But okay, I'm going to say there's so many out there doing that same thing. And I think one of the things that I am super passionate about and bringing to the industry is there's a reason why it's called a business, show business.
Indeed.
You know, and I think it's important to have passions. Yep. I think it's important to take risk. I think it's important to take the first step. But even more important, if you want to stay in it, you got to make a business out of it.
You have to.
So you have to find some way to monetize your gift. Hozana, I think you and your wife have done such a great job at that through, you know, y'all's cinematography and videography. You know, I mean, both of y'all have done really well at that and growing, you know, every day because of it. So what's some of that? What can you share with some of that?
In relation to like the growth of, you know,
how did you start?
And
like you came like
in a sense.
Right. You like I have a passion. I can do pretty cool things with this camera. Now, how do I monetize that?
Yeah, I think for me especially, it was learning to put on my plate what I could eat, if that makes sense, right? I mean, I think the visual is like if you go to Thanksgiving for big family dinner, it's like, I want everything that's offered. In it, and you put so much on your plate that you don't even know where to take your first bite. And so for me, it was when I first started doing any sort of production work. I mean, coming out of the sports world of being an athlete, I wasn't saying I'm gonna go shoot everything, or I want to take photos of family photos, or you know, like portraits, senior side. I didn't like try and do everything. I mean, I didn't really know what to do, even some of that. So for me, it was like, well, what do I want to put on my plate that I kind of want to do? And so my first gig per se, or first type of production was just doing sports photography, and I was passionate about it. So you know, it was willing to say I'm really only going to eat this one thing for a little bit. And it was, man, the better I got at knowing how much I could get of that, and wow, I could kind of expand a little bit. You know, maybe I don't just need the mashed potatoes on the plate, and I can let me put some green beans on there, and let me put some of this on there. And so once I felt like I was getting more accustomed and used to one of those dishes per se, it was like, oh, let me add something else to it. So, you know, I went from doing sports photography to, hey, let me do a wedding. You know, my wife was doing wedding photography at the time, and I really didn't want to do like wedding photography. It was just not my niche. Like I'm a guy.
Yeah, right.
It's not really my big goals to be like, oh, love story, great. I really didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I would help second shoot for her, but then there was times where we had a friend who asked, hey, it was a small little elopement wedding, and can your husband do video? And I was like, well, I've never really done video before. You know, I got some room on the plate because again, I'm just focused on a couple things.
Yeah.
And then in those moments, you'll realize, wow, like I actually like that thing on the plate better than I like the sports photography. And so I think that was my biggest thing of learning how to turn it into a business, was really knowing what the taste I liked.
Yeah.
You know, and not being able to try and, if I were to taste everything on that Thanksgiving plate, it's just all going to taste the same, right? I'm going to be overwhelmed with all different flavors. Whereas when I recognized something new came on the plate, it was more appealing to me as opposed to just being all of it. And so when videography came in, I hated doing wedding photography, but when seeing something in motion on camera on the video side, all of a sudden just fell in love with that for filmmaking and even in the wedding industry. And so it was a journey of saying like, I'm passionate about it, but again, how do I turn that into a business? And I think it's like in the same sense of just, you got to take it in steps and have to have goals and grow in it. You know, like I wasn't the guy charging an arm and a leg to begin with. I mean, I had to be willing to like be honest and humble. I think that's like, there's so many creatives in the city of Houston that have like the skill set to charge the arm and a leg. It's like you kind of have to like just get your foot in. You know, like we talked about just taking that first step. You know, and that's something that was hard for me because I'm more of a diving board kind of guy. Like I don't really go in the shallow end. I'd rather just do a cannonball in the deep end and see if I can swim. Which doesn't, you know, work too well at times, but at least I'm in the pool. You know,
I think it's great how you took what you had, even though it was not your like all out passion, but you took what you had and you monetized with what you had to find what you're most passionate about. And I think in this industry, that is an important step to take. You know, I hear a lot, I don't really like that. Well, I don't like about 50% of what I do today. You know,
give and take, you know?
But in order to do the 50 that I love, I have to do the 50 that I don't love, right? And that's part of making it a business, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about this, and, you know, sitting around here, we're all like, oh, when is production day? When is production day? Because it's what we all love. It's the fun part. That's like 10% of what we do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the rest of it, there's so much more. So I think it's taking that step, taking what you have, you know, and then making something, creating something, and finding a way to monetize that's going to lead you to what you really love in the industry, you know, and being humble about your first steps. So you did the same thing by taking all the phone calls and, you know, making that effort with what you had to get into the industry to ultimately find out your passion is directing.
That's it. And sometimes you just have to, you know, my mom did a smart thing when I was growing up, and she basically, when it came down to extracurricular activities and things like that, she would let me sign up for anything. Our deal was whatever you signed up for, you had to finish it. That was it. But so I signed up for everything. So I was playing soccer, and I was playing tennis, and I was playing baseball, and I was doing whatever. I was acting, and I was doing, you know, singing and but it was really smart because it gets to a certain age, you know, if you have kids, you know, a certain age, you can't do everything. There's not enough time. They start to have to pick and choose what they're going to do. And I got to that age in my life, and it was great. I had tried everything, and I knew I can't do it all. And she's like, well, what do you really love? And it helped me decide what I really love because I had tried it all. I'd tried all the things on the plate, and I was like, I'd tried. I'm like, well, this is what I really love. And so there's something to be said for jumping in on a production set or wherever you can in the industry and giving it a whirl and just seeing like what is working for me and what do I like. And as you go on, you realize, okay, I don't want to do that so much. I want to do this. And you get, it's not, because if you're not careful, it can be paralysis by analysis. You know, the whole time you're analyzing, should I don't know, should just jump in and let the thing get refined as you go. As you go, you'll get, you know, I think more clarity is my, you know, suggestion for anybody. Just jump in.
And it betters that other 50, right? I mean, if we talked about, you know, the 10%, which is the production day, I love that. But if I don't learn with the 50% of the other stuff of, man, I don't like it, but I got to do it. You know, if I don't learn that, then I don't get to those bigger client gigs, or I don't get to those productions I want to be on.
100%.
You know, you're no longer doing the little family photos. Now it's like, wow, we're going to do a legit film, or we're going to do this. It's like, well, how do I get in between?
Yeah.
You know, that's the goal, is to figure that out.
And if you look at a film, by the time we actually see a film on the big screen, years. Let me say that again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
Do you know how many days have been in production? Depending on how big the film is, but you're anywhere from 20 days to 100 days. I mean, that's a major film, but your average film is anywhere from 20 days to 60 days. That's it. That's all the fun. Hee-haw, yay, we've all been on set.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are in pre-production, you're in development.
In an office.
You're in an office. You're doing all kinds of
Post-production
things.
in an
Then you're
office.
in a post-production. Correct. You know, so there's just a lot that goes into making this world look so glitz and glamorous. And that is why I think it's important to try everything, do what you can with what you have, and find a way to monetize it, because you've got to learn the industry as a whole to make it as a business, you know. And I think we could sit and talk about set life all day. We do all the time around here. It's one of the funnest places to be. It's right here at the studio, for the One Studio.
Great spot.
But I'm going to close with this. I'm going to ask each of you, what do you think, because the episode is, you know, for the love, right, of the industry. What do you think is your biggest love in this industry? Kelley, we'll start with you.
Wow. Biggest love in the industry. Well, you know, there's something about walking onto a production set, period, right? When you walk onto it, there's no place like it. It's something that you just, it's just in you. And even though I've been doing this quite a long time now, I guess every bit of over 20 years, I still feel that way every time I walk onto it. I love the medium itself. I love that, you know, as they say, you know, a picture is worth a 1,000 words. Well, we get like at least 24, you know, per second in what we do. And so but I love the medium, because you can go so deep. You know, you can speak on so many levels. It's not just the script. It's how something is directed. It's how everything can speak. A location can feel like a character. There's so many layers to a script. Subtext is one of my favorite things, you know, in script.
Yes.
What's really being said, not what's being said. There's so many layers of art.
Yeah.
I love art. I'm a fan of art, of all types. But in what we do in production, you work on art at many different levels. This lighting is an art.
Yes.
You know, everything about this sound is an art. You know, the script is an art. You know, the way that everything is an art, you know, and it's subjective. You could, in other words, you could have done it 100 different ways. The age-old, you know, saying in Hollywood, one of the greatest, I guess when people are winning their award, one of the nods or things they say to people is, you know, you made great choices. And they say that as a compliment, because there is about 1 million ways that director, that actress, whoever could have done that. But the one choice they made was a really good choice. And so they say, you made great choices. Good job. And I love that there's so many things you can do. So many things could go wrong. And I like that too.
Yeah.
You know, because it makes it scary. It makes it fun, you know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the magic of what you have come up with. How can you not like that? It's risky. It's all of those things, you know. So that's probably what I love, the multiple layers of art that is, and it's always changing.
Yeah.
You know, in the studio, how many things do we do? You could be in a church one day. It looks like a church in here, you know, and then another day it looks like a barn. It looks like a whatever we want it to be.
It's
show. Whatever we wanted, a comedy show. We made it look like a comedy show. That's right. It was the improv the other day. Yeah. But that came from right there. Now it's live and look, you know. So I love all that.
Yeah, that's good. Really good. Okay.
I think for me, the thing I love most about production life, set life, and all that is, to me, it's the people and the culture. You know, I think I'm a big people person, and I think it's also part of the athlete in me, like just love the camaraderie of a team, right? I mean, I loved my teammates. I love my team. I'd do anything for the win, or I would do anything for those guys. And I think on production as well, it's like you just learn to work with so many people, and those other so many people's become your friends, become your, hey, like, I'm not just hanging out with you on the next gig. You know, like, you'll find the good, bad, and the ugly, but man, when you find the good, it's just like, that is just a solid person, a solid connection. And so for me, I think the people of it, but man, the culture of production is just something in its own. You know, we can talk about like the culture in other countries or the culture of this business. I mean, everything has to have a culture to it.
Yep.
And I think that the production culture is one that oftentimes people don't even see it. I mean, you know, like that's kind of why this podcast is going to exist. It's people not just to understand the production life, but to understand that there's a culture to it.
Yeah.
And it's really fun and it's full of amazing people with a lot of wisdom who also just want to share it. You know, and I think having those kind of people on production sets and on these production life podcasts will really help with that. Because that's one of the things that stuck out to me the most was developing those friendships that I never knew I needed, or connecting with that person. It's like, man, you're great with a camera, but you're an even better human being. I just really love that about you. So for me, it's the culture and then the people.
Yeah, that's good.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I think I can see that in both of y'all as well, and the things that y'all do and the way that y'all are around here in the studio. You know, it's just such a warm place to be. I think we've heard so many times that I just don't want to leave. It's just so fun here, right?
Yes.
You know, and it's
mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. We tried to create an environment that was really welcoming, that you felt to get the best art, you authentically have to be yourself, right? So you have to have an environment that is authentic and welcoming and allows you to be that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what we've tried to create here, not only with the facilities, but also with the people that we have here at the studio and the people that we continue to grow and welcome in. It's super fun. Every new person that we get to come in here is super fun to meet and encourage and help to do what they've set out to do creatively.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's everything you've said.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, so then I just copy y'all. That sounds great. But I would say I love storytelling.
Yeah,
I love to tell a story. You know, I love to hear other people's stories. I love to see into other people's worlds, and that they do through the camera. They do that through production, and I love to see how other people tell the story. So if we all took a script today and we all read it, then we all went and made it. Whoa. How different it would be.
Very true.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me is fascinating. It's fascinating to see how everybody's approach to the same story looks so different, and to be able to kind of be a fly on the wall to see all that happen on a daily basis is really exciting for me. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the fact that it is so many layers of art, like you've said. And I love the fact that we get to tell great stories, and we get to encourage other people to tell their story in a great creative way. You know, and I think that's why we've started with a studio, to help encourage people. Hey, tell that story. Take a risk, and have you thought of it like this? Or how can we motivate you to do it at your very best?
Yeah.
You know? So,
I mean, now, you know, add to this, take away from this, correct me. In my mind, what we're doing on Set Life is really, we keep saying the word culture, but really we're pulling back the veil for Set Life, the production, the culture of production. Every culture has a geography, a location. For us, it's here at For the One Studio. You know, sometimes you shoot on location. There's a geography to any culture. There's a people. We're talking about the people that we love and so forth. There's a language. You know, it's got its own language. It's got its history, and it's got its stories. And so I think everything here on Set Life is what we want to do. Open up the culture, and pull the curtain back for production for the people in Houston and the people all over the world.
Yeah. And by chance, we hope that you're encouraged by hearing us. You know, our authentic selves, you know, being our real goofy selves like we are. I mean, honestly, before we said roll camera, we were all laughing so hard we were crying. I mean, we were like, maybe there should be some bloopers in this kind of deal, because we're just real people doing something that we love, trying to encourage other people to do what they love to at the end of the day. And that's why we started with For the Love of the Industry here on Set Life.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so
really good.
more to come. We have lots of great things.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of great surprises. You'll laugh a lot. You'll learn a lot. You'll be encouraged. And you'll see that we're just everyday people trying to do a little bit of good here in this world.
That's for sure.
To encourage. Yeah. So until next time, thanks. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for hearing us. We'll see you on Set Life.